guys, it's Kwana. I'm back again with another review, here to review The Handmaid's Tale Season 3 finale entitled Mayday. Let's get started. So I'm going to try to make this good and sweet and succinct because it's my second time trying to film this. You guys be in prayer. I'm praying that I can save up some money and get a camera, but my old trusty laptop is just, just reach out and just say a little prayer for my baby because she's not wanting to really work with me on making sure that my audio and my visuals sync together. And then I recorded on one software and there was no sound. So yeah, that happened. Anyhow, this episode happened. So before we get started, make sure you've watched the episode because I'm going to be spoiling the entirety of the episode. And make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so that you get more notifications about some of the things that I will be dropping as we get into the fall. Especially those of you who might follow How to Get Away with Murder. We'll be doing the final season. This Is Us, season 4, and I'm going to start reviewing The Boys, which is an Amazon Prime original series. So yeah, subscribe right now. I'm not going to say anything else until you subscribe. Okay, I'm going to say something. All right, so this was a good finale. It does everything, in my opinion, that you want a season finale to do. We do know the show has already been renewed for season 4, so there's no worries about us not getting a conclusion to the saga. But we got a good season 3 finale. We got resolution to the primary plot of the second half of the season, and we got some resolutions maybe to some character arcs and character plots, hopefully. And we got a cliffhanger. So those are kind of like the 3 things that you want any season to have. And it was suspenseful and compelling. I always get scared when my dog leans against the laundry room door. Anyhow, so let's just go ahead and start talking about the episode. So the episode begins with June, and it is a flashback to the very early days of Gilead. So we see a younger June being herded with all of these other women, and there's really no better term from it. They're being treated like cattle. Really giving me flashbacks to that season 2 opener with the women being herded in much the same way after they failed to stone Janine for endangering her child's life. And it's kind of giving me the same thing, that just that constant reminder that Gilead does not treat women with respect, but instead treats them in the same way that one would treat cattle. And that their lives are never going to be safe or fulfilled while they exist in this world. We also get a voiceover narration of... Sorry, it was bothering me. I got them adjusted, but they're still crooked, or either my ears are crooked. Anywho, we got a voiceover of June talking about how the men were able to take over. How did this happen? And she comes up with a hypothesis that it's because men have the capacity to be ruthless. And she basically says that she also has this capacity, which is why she's going to win. All right, so that becomes the theme of where we're going to see her character go in this episode. All right, so then we see her, and it flashes back to present day. She's walking through the streets of Gilead. She doesn't have a walking partner anymore, so she's being escorted by a guard, by an eye, I guess. I'm still kind of confused on whether the eyes are the guards or the eyes are a separate sect of the, like of a spy. I'm still confused by that because they really haven't done much with the eye thing since it was first mentioned earlier in season 1 and a little bit season 2. Anywho, she starts getting stopped by all these different handmaids who are greeting her, and they're dropping bars of soap into her bag, and it was cute, but at the same time, it's just like, how are they not seeing this? Like, it's very visible. Maybe they just, because soap is not something that you would think, okay, well, they're giving her soap, but I kind of thought that they really weren't supposed to be like passing on different things like that. So it just really bothered me because it just seemed like somebody ought to notice that something was going wrong. And in fact, someone does. She gets stopped by Aunt Lydia, who notices how the other women are treating her, and basically says to June, "Hey, the other women look up to you and see you as kind of a role model, but it's more, popularity doesn't equal responsibility or something like that." And basically trying to tell June that she needs to be responsible because these women are going to put their lives in danger because of her. And she's playing Aunt Lydia. She's like, "Yes, Aunt Lydia. Oh, you know me. I'm going to be subversive, or no more subversiveness, or something like I'm going to be subservient, some kind of craziness." Um, they really just haven't done much with Aunt Lydia the last half after we got her episode. And I kind of feel like they're missing an opportunity to either do something really delightful with Ann Dow or just to let her character go. Like, something needs to happen. Like, they have all these great actors who at this point are kind of just serving as background noise to June. And it's really a shame. So anyway, she gets back to the Lawrence house where she starts having a conversation with Sienna. So I finally know the young handmaid's name is Sienna, which I should have probably picked up on since that's my goddaughter's name. Or anyway. Um, but the younger Martha is like really kind of worried. She doesn't know what to do. The other Martha doesn't want her help. And so June gives her this little speech about womaning up and pulling on her big girl panties and stop waiting around for someone to tell her what to do and just do something to make herself useful. And then it's kind of funny because June is chopping up soap and dropping soap in like a boiling pot of water, and Sienna's in the background talking about, "Hey, I used to study radiology. I was going to be somebody big and important or something like that. I was really smart." And she's like, "Okay, yeah, whatever." And she just keeps going. She's chopping up this soap and she's melting it. And we find out later that she's melting it to kind of make a grease or some kind of glaze that she can put to mask the windows and also on the gate to silence the squeakiness of the gate so that it doesn't make any noise, so it doesn't alert the guards to the presence of the children and the Marthas as they come in. Um, all right, so then a Martha and a little girl arrive super early. Like, it is broad daylight, like maybe noon at best. We get this nice little montage of June and the two Marthas. Is her name Beth? I feel really bad for not knowing the older Martha's name, but I feel like maybe it's Beth. And they're like tearing up sheets of cloth and preparing sandwiches and getting sacks ready for all of these people to carry for the kids to have food on the journey. And then this Martha and her ward arrive, and it's like super early, and they're all looking at her like, "Well, what are you doing here?" And she's like, "It's this Mayday." And they get this power stance of June sitting there like Superwoman and like chest out, "Yes, this is Mayday and I am Superwoman." And then it cuts to a commercial, but when they come back, like the reality of, "Hey, yo, this Martha is here super early. She's messing up plans. Anyone could have seen her. And how are we supposed to hide them under the cover of night if it's not night? Like, hello, Martha, have you ever watched a spy movie before Gilead? Like, use some sense." So then it cuts to Canada. And in Canada, we see our good friend, Mr. Tuello, who I'm excited to see Sam Yeager getting a show on CBS called Why Women Kill, and he's going to be playing one of the husbands that gets killed, I guess, on the show. So it's pretty interesting. Anyhow, side note, I digress. He is there with our favorite wife, not Serena Joy, and she's outside. And so my first thought was, why is she outside? My second thought was, she looks very nice. Like, she put on some makeup, got a little curl to her hair and whatnot. And then my third thought was, again, and she's not in a caged cell because of what? So they're talking about how she's going to have to give this testimony and testify to the things that she's seen, and how the reason why she's not being treated like a criminal is because she is a victim. And then he gives her a pass so she can start roaming the streets of Canada. How many like privileges is this woman gonna get? Like, I'm just like, in what world is this? What is this? What is that? What privilege? I mean, I guess that's what privilege looks like. That's like, it's so sad. It's like, she gets to walk around and be free, and the handmaid that she helped her husband rape is still sitting in Gilead. I'm sorry if I'm shaking the camera. That just pissed me off to no end. Like, I said it before, I'll say it again. I do not care about Serena Joy. I don't care. Like, she pisses me off. I don't have any sympathy for her. I don't feel like I don't care. Like, she is scum of the earth. Okay. So anyway, gotta go back to my notes. So then we're back at the Lawrence house, and our Martha that just arrived, named Maggie, she gets scared, and she's like, you know what, this was a bad idea. I'm just gonna go back, try to get back before the wife wakes up. And they're like, you drugged old girl, like, you go back, they're gonna kill you. And she's like, no, she's kind, she's sweet, she's nice, it'll be okay. And so then June runs upstairs, gets her Glock, and it's like, no, I don't know where you think you're going, but this little girl's about to stay here with me. Grabs the little girl. The Martha runs off. June runs after her, points the gun at her, and in that moment of wanting to be ruthless, she freezes. Now, I can't get too mad about that because, hello, she didn't have a silencer, she didn't have a potato, she didn't have anything to try and keep this gunshot from being heard. So the reality is that would have been a stupid idea anyway. But then she turns the gun and points it at the little girl. Now, later on, they say something about her doing that because the little girl made a noise. But it, to me, just looked like it was more reactionary. Like, she's pointing the gun at the Martha. The little girl comes behind her and she just swings reactionary and has the gun in her hand and points it at the little girl. But whatever. So then she tries to calm the little girl down and tells the little girl, it's going to be okay. I'm so sorry. Hugs her. We know that Maggie is dead at this point. Like, let's be honest. Where are you going? You left these people's child somewhere. Like, you're going to go hang for this, okay? If they don't just shoot you on sight, you're going to hang. That's what's going to happen. Sayonara. Okay, so then Lawrence returns. And June is sitting there, she's at the table, and she's like rubbing her hands on the table, and she's just like, woosah, trying to have a woosah moment. And I'm like, girl, get it together. Like, you can't be captain, captain saving folks, and over here, like, having a full-on meltdown. Like, you need to get your whole life together. So then Lawrence shows up, and she's like, why are you here? I thought you were at the meeting where you're supposed to be, like, keeping everyone occupied and busy, so we can kind of do some things without them observing what's going on. And he's like, oh, I left early. And she's like, why? And he's like, oh, because someone saw the Martha and the little girl, and now there's going to be roadblocks, and we have to shut everything down. And she looks at him like, you can't shut anything down. You don't have any power. And he's like, this is still my house. And she's like, you still think this is your house? Like, fool, I hemmed your wife up in front of you and you did a squat. This is my house. I run this. And I really wish she just would be like, I run this B, and gave him a nod. I would have got my life for that. But anyhow, so Lawrence realizes he's not running things. And then the plan continues. She's like, go get me a map. I guess if we can't use the trucks, I'm about to figure out how we're going to get to the airfield. Go get me a map pronto. Get it together. So then we cut back to Canada where Fred Waterford is being interrogated. And y'all, if Serena Joy looked all glowy and beautiful, he looks busted and hurt. His eyes are red. He looks like he has had like the roughest night of his life. Like, they have been interrogating him longer than they did Hillary Clinton, and he ain't had a glass of water. Like, boy looks beat. And Mark Tuello shows up, and the interrogation stops, and he's like, what about Serena, basically? And Mark is like, well, she's a victim. And he's like, she was under duress. And Fred laughs in his face and is like, psh, plain please. She was running things. She was over here, helping, running things. I'm about to tell you, spill all the tea on what old girl was doing, even beyond my own knowledge. She was doing things that jeopardized lives. So the next time we see Serena Joy, she's playing with baby Holly slash Nicole, and living her best life. And then suddenly Mark and some agents roll up, and he puts her under arrest. Y'all, that was such a satisfying moment when they arrested her, because first of all, just the whole playing with Nicole, thinking I'm Nicole's mama thing has not set well with me for the last 2 episodes. So I was really like, they can 86 that real quick. But then, like, no, like, maybe if she had stayed on that same beat that she was on when she allowed June to take Nicole and help her be rescued, if she had stayed that Serena Joy, I might feel some sympathy for her. Because she turned her back on that person, I'm turning my back on you. Peace. And I'm done with this storyline. Like, if this is the end of the Waterfords, I am okay with it. I don't need to know what happens as they're being interrogated, what information they give up. Unless they find a way to release them and to somehow legitimately make him and convert him into a spy for the cause, which I doubt, I don't need to see them anymore. These people are rapists. I don't need to see it. I'm done. This is the perfect bow to their storyline. Let it end here. Execs at Hulu and MGM, let it end here. I said it. Okay, anyway. So then we go back to the Lawrence household, and the children are like getting ready to start showing up. So they realize, okay, how are we going to get to the airfield? Well, Sienna pops in a little piece of advice and is like, oh, we don't have to go this way. We can cut through the creek here and we can save some time. So, okay, now they have a plan. So they're going to go into the woods, and they're going to take the little strips of cloth, and they're going to tie them around the little trees. And Rita's there, and they're going to leave markings for how they're going to travel. Now, that part kind of bothered me a bit, because they initially said it was 5 miles from there to the airfield, and even if they cut through the woods, it was maybe going to save them a mile. It's going to take about 30 minutes per mile. And I just kept trying to figure out, like, did they go and come back and they were going to go again? Like, did they mark the entire way, or was it just like half of the way? Like, that just did not make sense to me, especially being that they had to kind of go kind of slow and not go too fast so they didn't draw attention. So I was trying to figure that out logically. I think that's just like a little plot hole or whatever, just to draw things out, I guess. Anyhow, they get back. The children, of course, had all been arriving earlier in the day, and the house is quiet. The lamp is out, and now it's like scary because we don't know what's happening. Have they been caught? Did Lawrence round them up and take them himself and forget about June and them? Like, what happened? So it's very suspenseful. They go into the house. I'm thinking, oh Lord, we're about to see all the mark that's going to be dead in a little circle, and the children going to be gone, and that's going to be the end of it. And then somebody's going to jump out and arrest them. But no, Lawrence is just down. He's taken the lamp down and it's got it in the little room, and they're all huddled together, and he's reading stories to the little children. And it was a cute little moment, It was a cute little moment. I've said this, I think, before. Next season, they really need to show us a flashback of Lawrence, because I really want to see what was his investment into this system, because he seems to be so against and the antithesis of anything that Gilead really believes, that I'm really wondering how he came to be a part of this. Was it one of those things where they asked him to do it in order to save himself? Like, how did that happen? So anyway, it's time to go now, and Lawrence decides to stay. So he says he's going to stay and clean up his mess, which is good because that'll give us at least one person on the inside for the next season. So that's a nice little plot technique that they did there, which is we got to keep somebody on the inside who can help the handmaids, help the Marthas, and it's going to have to be Lawrence, so we got to keep him around. So he stays, and the handmaids go, and June is leading the way, and they're going, and they're creeping, and they're avoiding, and it's reminding you of that very first time when June and Hannah were running and trying to escape, and also when June was trying to escape with Holly the first time. Um, it's kind of reminding me of that, and they're making their way, and they finally get to the airfield after a couple of close calls. And then a guarded vehicle comes and is surveying the landscape, and it's like, OMG, they're not going to make it. The plane is right there. You can taste freedom. It's so close. Well, June decides to sacrifice herself, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. And she goes over and she starts hurling rocks at the guards. Before she does this, she tells um, Rita that Rita is going to be responsible for getting the children to safety. Lead them to the plane. I will distract the guards. Well, the other handmaids and the Marthas join in, and they're throwing rocks at the guards and distracting the guards, and the guards start shooting at them. A couple of Marthas get shot. And then June ends up leading one of the guards away into the woods. He shoots at her, shoots her, comes up on her. She pulls out that gun that she stuck in her boot, threatens him, makes him call in that there's an all clear, and then she shoots him dead in the face. So there we finally get a chance to see, that came out real country, really get a chance to see her become that ruthless person that she needs to be, like take on that courage and do what needs to be done. But it's not like she hasn't killed somebody before, but I guess there's a difference between like killing them in like fear of your life, like she did with Commander Stabler Winslow, and what she's doing now with this guard. Really would have been interesting. I don't think we saw his face. If it had been the same guard and she remembered him from the beginning, that would have been kind of a cute, like a little throwback. But I digress. Maybe we'll see him again next season. Maybe he'll be with Nick, since we haven't seen Nick in a while. I'm just saying, we haven't seen Nick in a while. Where's Nick? And she's bleeding. Dude is dead. But the kids make it. And so they arrive, and we cut to Canada, and there's Moira, and there's Luke, and there's Mark Tuello, and everybody's got supplies and EMS, and they're there to get the kids off the plane. They don't know what they're going to have. They just know that it's some rescues from Gilead, and they go on board. Moira goes on board, and she sees all of these children. And it's like the miracle of miracles that there's all these children. The children get down, and little Kiki gets down, and suddenly somebody calls her name, Rebecca. Her little Kiki is Rebecca, and it's her daddy, and they have a little reunited, and it feels so good moment. And this side right here had me a little tear, right here and right here. And then Luke is like with Moira grabs his hand, and of course we know where his mind is. His mind is, oh, Hannah, maybe Hannah's on the plane. He's looking. He doesn't see Hannah. And it's so sad because you know Hannah's not on the plane, and you feel so bad for him. Well, then Rita gets off the plane, reunites with Emily. They have a little hug moment. That had me at a little tear. I was like, why am I so emotional? I don't even know halfway if I like Rita sometimes. And then Emily introduces Rita to Luke, and Rita hugs Luke, and Luke is looking at her like, who is this crazy black chick hugging me? And she starts saying, this was June. June did all of it. She did it. And he's like hugging her, and she's crying. And I was like, I'm crying. What in the world is going on? Like, y'all, I was so emotional. It could have been because it was 1 o'clock in the morning, y'all. But I was emotional. So they had me. I was crying. And I was like, this was the perfect little send-off. Like, unless they make Rita like a part of the resistance or something, I'm good if we don't see Rita. Rita had her She-Ra moment, and I'm good with her now. So she's good. She's solid. Leave her here. Let her live right here in this space of taking care of these little children and saving the day. Let her live here. Let her live her life, people. So we go back to June, and we get a flashback of June, Luke, and little Hannah on one of those little carousels that she's having in the park, and they're playing, and they're trying to get Luke to come over, and he's reading his book or whatever, and they're just living their best lives. And then we see Luke, of course, June is there. The handmaids come and try to see, we don't know if June's going to be alive or not. And June is still alive. She's still breathing. So we know she's still alive. Of course, we knew she was going to still be alive because they just renewed for season 4. And Janine is there, and they say, "You're going to be okay." And they pick her up, and they're carrying her through the woods. And that's where it ends, with that close up of June's face. Now, on that end, everything was good. We got the resolution to the children being saved. We got a chance to see every major character with the exception of Nick in this episode. We got to see Aunt Lydia, Janine, June, Serena Joy, Fred Waterford, Joseph Lawrence. I really like that scene between Commander Lawrence and June where she says goodbye Joseph, calls him by his name, that doesn't call him Commander Lawrence, so stripping away the Gilead name, and he says bye June Osborne and stripping away her Gilead name. That was really, really cute. That was a really cute moment. But there are questions. So this episode was really great. It was really suspenseful. There were moments where I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? Like, at first I thought Mayday was over when the little girl and Maggie and the little girl showed up too early. Then I thought it was over when they rolled up on the house and the house was dark and nobody was there. They couldn't find anybody. I was like, oh Lord. Then I thought they were going to get shot in the woods. They were going to be like Underground Railroad running through the woods trying to make it and find a safe house or something. So it was nice to have that resolution. It was nice to see Moira and Luke and all of the people in Canada and see Emily. Like I said, even just for those moments, very brief, but it was good to see them. But questions now. What happens with the handmaids and with the Marthas who helped in this? They can't go back to their residences without these children. They're going to all be killed. Especially the Marthas, because they can just get more Marthas from the colonies and ship them back over and clean them up and make sure there's no radiation and just put them to work. The other thing is what happens with the handmaids. Now we know we've seen a reluctance by Gilead to kill handmaids, but we also know that the one instance where they would be willing to do it is when children's lives have been in danger. However, they need handmaids because those are the only people who can have children. So there's things worse than killing them that they can do. We've seen that. We've seen the handmaids have stitched up lips. We've seen them have forced female circumcision and genital mutilation. We know that there are things worse than death that they can do to these women. So what happens in season 4 and how does Lawrence help with this? What happens with June? My prediction is that I feel like season 4 should be the last season of the show. I don't see that the show could really go on another season. There's a reason why the novel is just one novel and not a series of novels, although I think this could have been a trilogy. I don't think this show can give us 5 and 6 and 7 seasons unless we get perspectives of other handmaids. That's the only way that we could do that. And if they had kept Emily in the colonies and us saw life in the colonies a bit more, or see like other areas more, that's the really only way I could see that working. The other thing is, how do I think this all ends? Because I don't know where this starts at. Like, where does this pick up in season 4? But I do feel like I know where it's going to end. And it's going to end with, of course, June trying to rescue Hannah. And I do think June will be successful. The question will be whether she will end up having to sacrifice her life to get Hannah out, which we have seen her sacrifice every single season, sacrificing to save Janine in season 1, sacrificing to save Holly in season 2, and now sacrificing to save the children in season 3. So we have seen her sacrifice, and I think that that will be a major component to how she gets Hannah out. Now, the disclaimer to that is that we got that scene with Hannah, June, and Luke at the end, that flashback. And Luke has had to answer the question of what have you done by Fred, which was a very stupid question for Fred to ask, but I think it was a very valid question in the grand scheme of things, because in the grand scheme of things, you've had all these women who've played active roles in resisting Gilead. Emily, Moira. They were all a part of the resistance at one point in time. What has Luke done that's part of the resistance? So I think we're gonna have to see Luke kind of play more of a role and not usurp June's place. But I would personally like to see an outcome where June actually does live, where the whole salvation of the world is not always resting on the shoulders of women. And that sounds like a very feminist type statement, but um, we always look for mothers to kind of hold things down and to like fight and sacrifice everything for their children. And I think at this point it's time for Luke to kind of take the helm. And I think there's a way that they could do it that kind of brings them together for a moment, but where he sacrifices himself to get June and Hannah out. Maybe he gets killed or shot in the process, but he manages to get them out of harm's way just in time. And I think it would kind of satisfyingly answer that question. If we have a world in which June dies and Luke has to raise Hannah and baby Holly, I don't know that I would be satisfied with that outcome at this point. If they all end up together, I think great. I think that's a great outcome if they all end up together. But I just don't see a world where June sacrifices her life, and at this point I'm okay with it because she's rescued so many people that it's like I kind of do want her to gain some benefit out of all of the work that she's put in. But that's just what I hope for next season. So storylines that I feel like are wrapped up and we don't need to hear any more about. I think the Waterfords are done. They can be just pop in on them maybe a couple of times, but I don't need to see ongoing long stretches because this season was messy as you know what, guys. Like they drew out this storyline so much, and there were so many more interesting things they could have done along the way to get to this point. And they still haven't gotten to this point. They could have done a whole lot more. And this season really did not pick up until the second half. But that being said, I'm done with the Waterfords. I can be done with Rita. Hop in on her. Maybe she's like running an orphanage for the little children who don't have parents or something. Helping to raise baby Holly, you know. I want to see more of Moira. I want to see more of Luke in the next season. I want to see them helping to organize a resistance, an actual plan of resistance. Maybe even more somehow sneaking back into Gilead and becoming, you know, going undercover and or coordinating something on that end. I would like to see more of that happen in the next season, guys. But overall, I mean, it wasn't a horrible season. We got a lot of great shockers. I think everything at the point where we got of Matthew's death on to the back end of this season was really, really good and really, really fulfilling. I definitely hope that they come with strong plans for season 4 and that we get a send off to the series that it deserves. But that's all. That's it. We're here at the end. We have a whole nother year, and we have to wait all the way until May to get more of The Handmaid's Tale. Kind of sad. But before you go, please do me a favor, and if you enjoyed this recap and review, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to my channel. I am going to be dropping a review of The Boys episode 1 probably this afternoon or this evening, and I'm going to probably try to get most of that show reviewed before the school year starts for me. I will be reviewing This Is Us and How to Get Away with Murder, because it's the final season of those two shows that I watch, as well as going into fall. Later on in the fall, early winter, I will be reviewing Russian Doll season 2 whenever it comes out, because I love that show. And yeah, so if you have suggestions, comments, and things that you want me to review, please drop them down below. Please hit the like before you go. If you didn't like it, then let me know what you didn't like about it and comment down below. Let me know, what do you want to see in season 4, and do you want to see the Waterfords? Are there things that I didn't want that you want to have happen in season 4? Let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's keep the conversation going. And until next time, guys, toodles.